Hello, welcome to Moving Beyond Burnout. Today I'll be discussing when success and struggle coexist, Black women, high functioning depression, and burnout. If you are joining me for the first time, my name is Camesha. I am a licensed clinical social worker, recovering workaholic, and burnout overcomer. Moving Beyond Burnout empowers Black women to cultivate self-awareness and to create practical pathways to overcome burnout for good. So if you're watching this video on LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, please like this video. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a woman that you know who is looking for support and hope with burnout. Today's topic is when success and struggle coexist. Black women, high functioning depression, and burnout. The reason why I want to touch on this topic is because I believe and have seen Black women who are really struggling in silence with depression, particularly women who are maybe to everyone else is doing really well, holding things down, excelling on the surface, but beneath there can be sadness, there can be hopelessness that often goes undetected. And often some women who are experiencing what would be considered high functioning depression don't feel like they can talk to anyone, or may have a variety of different feelings that impact them from sharing what's going on. So, as I shared before, there are Black women who we may see as excelling, being successful, who may be active in work and social life, but are behind closed doors struggling with high functioning depression. So, I want to define what high functioning depression is. And it is a person who can take care of necessary responsibilities while having persistent sadness and hopelessness. When we think about depression, we often think about people who are debilitated, those people who can't get out of bed, who withdraw from others, who have a low motivation, who may also be irritable, and or just have a very sad and down effect. But there are also people who are able to present to the world or to take care of all the things that someone who you may not think who may be struggling with a mental health condition can take care of. But when they get home, when they're alone, they may feel empty. They may feel like sadness and can struggle with motivation and these things behind the scene. And this is just really important to talk about because depression is one of the most common mental health. There are a lot of pressure and expectations of Black women in a variety of areas in their lives to show up, to perform, to take and do and be it all. So some of the reasons why women who may be high performers on the surface, things look really good, and they are struggling with depression, a lot of it has to do with masking and hiding struggles. So the title of this one, Struggle and Success Coexist. So some of the reasons why Black women may mask or hide their struggles with depression is because they don't want to appear weak. I've often heard women talking about sharing what's going on with them as if they're a burden. So feeling like maybe they're not even worthy to talk about what's going on or what they're grappling with, because they may feel like they may be inconveniencing someone or burdening others with what they're going through. And another thing that I also see very often is minimizing mental health struggles. So sometimes I've heard women say, "Oh, I'm doing okay, right? It's really not that bad," or "Let me, compare." Well, it could be so much worse. And so that minimizing prevents people, and Black women especially, from addressing what's happening, because there may be a denial that it is as serious as it is, or just being what they're experiencing may need actual care and actual attention. So I want to bring up a woman who I believe is an example, unfortunately, of a high achieving, high performing, high functioning Black woman who unfortunately died by suicide. So Chelsea Christ, she was Miss USA 2019. When she became Miss USA, I was so excited because I don't think we've had a Miss USA in a very, very long time. And Chelsea was beautiful, beautiful Black woman. I mean, when you saw her, when you see pictures or videos of her, you just see joy and happiness. But she wrote this book, a memoir, shortly before dying by suicide. And she talked about, before, by the time you read this, was literally the title. And her mother, April Simpkins, she finished the book after Chelsea passed away. And she talked about her hidden mental health struggles and how on the surface she was this attorney, she was this reporter, a model, Miss USA, but behind closed doors, she was experiencing persistent sadness and persistent hopelessness, to the point that she died by suicide. And so I'm not going to go into exactly how that happened, because it's quite unsettling. And if you want to look at it on your own time, I wouldn't, if you feel comfortable, to look up more about what happened. But Chelsea really demonstrated what's happening with women who, on the surface, everything looks good, but really deep down inside, they're living with depression and living with sadness and feeling like they can't tell anybody, or what people may perceive about them if they do reach out for help. And unfortunately, there are people who are experiencing high functioning depression that are considering um, dying by suicide because of just the isolation and the lack of support. So I want to talk about what you can do if you're experiencing high functioning depression. If you're that woman that is excelling, succeeding, taking care of everybody and doing it well, and able to take care of your responsibilities. But when you come home, you feel sad, you feel empty. It's hard for you to take care of yourself behind the scenes. You may not feel motivated, but you feel like you have to carry on. I want to share a couple things that you can do if you're experiencing this. One, the first thing is to acknowledge that what you're experiencing is depression. And acknowledgement is so important because, as I talked about a couple of moments ago, there can be minimizing, there can be dismissing, there can be comparing that prevents actually facing that, hey, I have depression and it's time for me to seek support. The other number two of what you can do if you are experiencing high functioning depression is to expand your support. That can look like self-care practices. I know a lot of people talk about self-care, but it really, if you are implementing it, it does really change things. I am a living witness of that. Also, things that you can do if you're experiencing high functioning depression is to talk to people that you trust, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone in your community, a professional, about what you're going through. because, as I shared before, the isolation for people who are experiencing this is extremely common. And the last thing that I want to tell you is something that I learned very early on, when I got certified to be a mental health first aid trainer. And one of the things they mentioned was that the longer you go without care, mental health care, the longer it will take to recover. Oftentimes, people who are experiencing depression or other mental health conditions, they may go years without getting treatment. And because of that, it can continue to increase the severity over time, and it will take longer to recover. So sometimes people end up having mental health crises years down the line because when they experience maybe some early symptoms, some early warning signs, they didn't take action. There's so many reasons for that. But what I want to encourage you to do if you're experiencing high functioning depression is to engage in your recovery process as soon as possible, reaching out to a professional, a therapist, other people who can help you, because the longer you go without it, you can only mask it, but for so long. At some point, you are going to have a breaking point or a crisis if it is not addressed. So those are some things that I want you to do if you're experiencing high functioning depression. And what I also want to talk about is how we can support Black women who are in the midst of high functioning depression. The first thing is to listen non judgmentally. Black women experience a lot of stereotypes, a lot of lack of empathy from others and people who don't see them or people who don't hear them. So if you may have a friend or someone else that you believe is experiencing high functioning depression, the most important thing that you can do is listen without giving advice, but to just be a sounding board and someone that they can be vulnerable and open up and talk about what they're going through. The next thing is to don't make assumptions. Sometimes when we see someone we may perceive as doing well, we may assume that they don't need help. We may assume that they have the energy to do more than what they really can. And it's really important that we don't make assumptions, that we listen and try to provide support in a way that's most relevant to that person. And then lastly, offering ongoing support. We all need someone that we can talk to, that we can check in with, that we can rely on. And whether it's a text message, a phone call, doing an outing, anything that you can do to continue to be in contact with someone who's experiencing depression. As I mentioned, sometimes when people experience it, they can isolate and withdraw. And that is even more important for us to be engaged and to make sure that we're continuously engaging with them so that they don't fall off our radar or that they feel like they're not able to talk to others about what they're experiencing. So, this topic, as I said, was a little bit of a tough one, but I believe it's important to talk about it. That there are women all around us who we may believe are doing well, but they may really be struggling. And it's important that we make space for Black women who are in these situations so that, regardless of your background, your social background, how much money you make, who you're connected to, that we are truly, as we would say, our sister's keeper, checking in and supporting one another and allowing the space to be vulnerable to talk about our sadness, our hopelessness, our struggles without judgment, and without fear of it getting out or all these other different things. So if you are in Illinois and you're looking for therapy, Sista Afya, we provide individual therapy to Black women. We're in network with most insurance companies, and we're here for you. And I have therapists on staff that help women with a variety of mental health conditions. So you can go to www.sistaafia.com/therapy and sign up. And then Next week's topic that I will be discussing is work-life balance. Is it your responsibility or your employer's? This is something that comes up a lot for people who are experiencing burnout is work-life balance. Like, is it whose responsibility is it? And I'll be doing my first reaction video to a very prominent man who answered this question, and I would love to get your thoughts about it, but I'm also going to be sharing my thoughts as well. So join me every Thursday at 12 p.m. Please like this video. Please share this video. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And also, if you are on LinkedIn, please subscribe to my Moving Beyond Burnout newsletter. Thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream. Take care of all of you and be well.